Well, they are not bumping around here. U.S. and South Korean soldiers training in the mountains near where those Olympics will be held, not too far from Seoul. The former Deputy Secretary of State, Director of the National Intelligence, John Negroponte, joining us right now. Sir, always good to have you. Thank you for taking the time. You know, I'm increasingly wondering whether there will be an Olympics. I guess it depends on the next missile test or what we do in response or what the North Koreans do after that. But what do you think?
Well, I think this is not the time to flinch. I think we really need to go forward with these. I think the South Koreans are very capable of taking effective security measures, and we give them our full support in that. We've been drilling with them and getting ready, and I think that we can count on a safe Olympic Games, and if there is some kind of effort to disturb the games, I'm sure they'll handle that situation very well.
What do we do in the event the North Koreans up the missile testing, though, especially right before the February start of these?
Well, I mean, this is a very serious situation, and hopefully some kind of result will come from the efforts to pressure North Korea to abandon its program, or at least come to the negotiating table. I know there's a lot of diplomatic activity going on behind the scenes. I know there are efforts to enlist the support of the People's Republic of China. I think this is there's no silver bullet here, no easy solutions.
You know, I wonder, though, yesterday when President Trump had his America First national security speech, laid out our strategy, one of the things he said of China was that it was a strategic competitor. Ambassador said it's pursuing policies of economic aggression that's aimed at weakening the U.S., and by association, Russia isn't much better. Whatever your individual thoughts on that, are we surprised then when China responds the remarks are reckless and irrational, and probably they're, at least verbally, less inclined to help us on this? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a bit of a dilemma on both sides. I think China has engaged in some behavior that is harmful to us, particularly in the economic realm, trade, protection of intellectual property, and so forth. On the other hand, the question of the Korean Peninsula has been something that the United States and China have consulted upon quite consistently for the past 25 years. And to the best of my understanding, that still continues. So I would hope, notwithstanding some of the rhetoric that is going on, that this will be an area of continued cooperation. I believe it's certainly in our mutual interest to do that.
Yeah, it would seem to be. You know, Ambassador, I'd be curious what you think would be deemed an act of war. I don't want to sound simplistic here, but a lot of people said we shoot down the next missile, or taking it to the next level, we shoot down the bases from which these missiles are launched, if that were to occur. Now, I guess it depends on what your definition of an act of war is, but either would be deemed an act of war, would it not?
Well, I think the problem is that the more you contemplate a military approach to this matter, the more horrific or horrendous the outcome would appear to be, because there's probably no way, if it does come to blows, of avoiding some kind of retaliation by North Korea against South Korea, since the city of Seoul is so vulnerable to even conventional artillery attacks from the north. So I think once you go down the road of a military approach to these things, the going could get very rough.
You know, the fear seems to be that anything economically we've tried, sir, has failed. Any promises we've tried to exact out of the Chinese have not come to fruition. Maybe behind the scenes that's just not true. But that there's constant cynicism expressed within the Trump White House that the Chinese are even approaching doing anything substantive to rein North Korea in. Do you agree with that?
Well, ultimately, I think we and the Chinese have got to try to come to some agreement about what kind of Korean Peninsula we want to see, and then put it in some kind of a context. I think the Chinese have some concerns that if this is subjected to some kind of random occurrences, that we could end up with U.S. troops on the Yalu River, or with North Korean refugees flooding into China. Those are the kinds of things they don't want to see. The only way I can see of avoiding that is for us and them to engage in intense diplomacy about the outcome that we want on the peninsula, and then work together along with our allies in Japan and South Korea to achieving that. I think it can be done, but it's a tough row to hoe. It's the toughest problem that's come along in a long time.
All right, Ambassador Negroponte, very good seeing you again. Thank you.